Thank you, team, for jumping on today. I really appreciate it. We're going to continue our journey through the cockpit of the plane, which is part of my Take Flight course that I'm going to be teaching online. We are doing these through the podcast, and but today's call is again take flight, plan your flight. But before I get into that, I want to talk about my professional purpose is to help you, the broker, optimize your productivity and help you become the best version of yourself. Why? Because happy brokers sell more real estate. And I do that by helping you handle the challenges and opportunities that you face every single day. Why? Because if you can effectively manage certain situations that arise on a daily basis in your business, you'll be more productive and live a life that is the best version of you. My ask is that you look at these episodes as if we are doing a one-on-one coaching session, okay? They are written and delivered with you as my avatar student. On this 185th episode of my Monday Morning Pep Talk, I will discuss the planning and action steps needed to make your destination a reality. If you commit to the planning process I am teaching today, it's not a matter of if, but when you reach your 3-year vision. And I'll cover periodization, which is the process of breaking down your goals into smaller chunks outlined in the book, The 12-Week Year, written by Brian Moran. You've heard me talk about it because it literally has become my goal attainment operations manual. But before we get into the details of today's episode, I want to review the past few weeks of content. On our tour through the cockpit of the aircraft, we covered the mind, okay, and the crucial need to understand how it works and how it really impacts your life and business. If you've not listened to this episode, I really feel it's a must listen. Go back and listen to episode 182, okay? Then we got into the need to go through an elimination process prior to any detailed focus on your life and business, right? This is where we weeded the garden, right? You don't plant seeds in a garden full of weeds, all right? You just don't. Go back to episode 183 if you've not already listened, okay? And then last week we talked about vision. You need to know where you're going, right? You need to have a destination for your flight. If you don't know where you're going, what's the point? Covered all of that last week in episode 184, and we're going to talk a little bit about it today because it's part of this periodization process, part of the 12-week year process. Take Flight builds on itself, just so you know, each week. So I highly recommend that you stay on top of every call. I try to write to present each session in kind of 20-minute bite-sized episodes, okay? 20 minutes is it's a drive from one showing to another showing, right? And I want to do it in 20 minutes because I feel like I've gotten a lot of feedback from people saying, Jim, I love that it's so quick. I love that it's just bite-sized. It's easy to listen to. Throughout these episodes, I'm using these Monday Morning Pep Talks to show you the process, step by step, how to build your business and improve your life. Okay, it's common for a broker or an entrepreneur to want to skip these 3 areas we just talked about, the mind, elimination, and vision, and jump right into action. But I can tell you, I've got case study after case study of serious personal and professional breakthroughs occurring in people's lives just by focusing on those 3 areas we've already talked about. All right, so do not just push through and say, okay, I get it, Jim, I'm going to skip those 3 parts. No, you've got to really study them and understand them because most everything we are going to go through from here on out is going to build on the understanding of the mind, the need to eliminate, and for vision. And we're going to get right into the 12-week year today. That's the process and how we're going to plan, all right, you winning. Step number 1, create and commit to a 3-year vision. Talked about it last week. Your goals are your goals. So how you define success is how you define success. Do not focus on what others think you should be doing or what their expectations of you are or what you feel the industry's expectations are for you. Okay. If you haven't created your 3-year vision, you got to start there. Okay. You've got to start there. I mentioned it last week, but a really good question to ask yourself is, again, in this one-on-one coaching session you and I are having through Take Flight, if we were having this discussion 3 years from today, and we were looking back over those 3 years, what would have to happen in your life, both personally and professionally, for you to feel happy with your progress? It's called the Dan Sullivan question. The whole process is about answering that question. Number 2, I've added to the 12-week year the idea of an annual theme. Okay. Areas of your business and your life that over the course of the next year you want to work on. Now, as real estate brokers, we are so driven towards annual goals. And to get rid of that, or to get rid of some form of a theme, right, would have been very difficult. And it goes against the grain of the book. I understand that, but we added an annual theme so people can stay connected in the shorter term, then also use those 4 quarters to help you meet that annual theme. Another thing that I've added is I want you to identify a word or words that describe your vision. Okay, words such as consistency, stability, respect, elevate, execution, and mastery are all words I've seen used with effectiveness. I have 2. Mine are preparation and transition, only on the personal standpoint, from a personal standpoint, right? Because in the next 3 years, Amy and I will be empty nesters. And so I've got to prepare for that. How does that look? So I've got those 2 words. I wake up every day thinking about preparation and kind of this transition in our life. Okay. Got a lot of moving parts, kids go in a bunch of different directions as they go out and seek and look for their careers and their path. So that's an interesting part, what we're dealing with right now. Number 4, create your first quarterly initiative that supports your annual theme and your 3-year vision. What is the low-hanging fruit? What's the low-hanging fruit that you can go grab and do major impact and make a major impact on your life just by working on a high impact, low cost, easy to implement strategy? We're going to talk about this more and more as we go through our episodes here. Number 5, take your quarterly initiative and break it down into 12 separate to-dos. Right? So as we start this next quarter, you want to break those down into 12 separate to-dos, 1 for each week of the quarter. Okay? 1 for each week of the quarter. It's interesting because those to-dos can be pretty simple. They can be a 15-minute call, or they can be a 3-hour deep work on a project. All right? Number 6, commit to winning the week. Develop a tracking mechanism to make sure you execute on your weekly promises to yourself. Commit to winning the week. You've heard me ask the question, are you interested or are you committed? Your life does not change without commitment. Execute. Like I said, your weekly initiative should be as easy as making a 15-minute call, or it could be a 3-hour time block to put deep work into a specific project. Number 8, this is an important one I've seen being used here at the brokerage and throughout the brand, and that is identify an accountability partner or partners and have a WHAM, which is a weekly accountability meeting every week. Check in with a group of people every week on your progress. There's weeks that you will do it for your accountability partners when you don't want to do it for yourself. Highly, highly recommend that you do this. It might be one of the most important parts of the process. And number 9, each quarter has a 13th week. Take the last quarter of every quarter to celebrate your successes that quarter. Book recommendation, if you've not already read it, The Gap in the Game by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, a massively important book that has you measuring backwards as much as it has you looking forward. I've seen people make a drastic shift in their mindset just when they look back and see how far they've come, because it's a verification of that you can do it, Super important book. Throughout all of the Take Flight sections and modules, I'll be linking back to this episode. because of what I just covered in those 9 steps. This is a strategy that, as I've been looking for strategies and concepts for 15 years, this one is it for planning. All you need to do is just execute it. All of these strategies work. I could tell you right now, I am not teaching anything in Take Flight that doesn't work. That does not work. I'm not teaching it. As you are identifying your quarterly initiative for the next quarter, consider the following. Start with elimination. Start pulling those weeds. Start pulling those weeds. Of course, by now, you've got your 3-year vision. After that 3-year vision is created, start pulling the weeds. Once you've pulled the weeds and you've eliminated bad habits and those issues that are getting in your way of high performance, lead generation strategies, et cetera, that don't work, move on to the opportunities. Many times, these opportunities are productivity habits, or habits and rituals, which we're going to get into in the next set of modules next month. Database and relationship management is already one of those that's so important that it should be at the top of your list if you've not got all 5 lists in place. Commit to more of those. And then after that, you want to improve your skills. Read, network, talk to others, test new strategies. You'll not wade into this number 3 until you, of course, have done number 1 and number 2. Does this seem difficult? Shouldn't. Many of you have been wired to think that you have to experience severe pain to be successful. And if I've learned one thing over the last 15 years, I've been amazed at how simple success in your business and life can be. Now, again, success being your definition. If you have a plan, you sprint towards that plan, and then you celebrate. You just have to get up every day and execute. What's interesting is that many avoid this process because they think it's too much work. All the while, they work away at things that don't matter, which creates inefficiencies and a lot of wasted time and energy. A lot of wasted time and energy. So this week's guiding principle that you'll see on my email and my social media will be plan, execute, track, celebrate, repeat. Plan, execute, track, celebrate, repeat. If you haven't started this periodization process that we kind of got through the 12-week year, consider taking all of next quarter to implement what we talked about today. Start by reading the book. I posted on my Instagram today a picture of a version of me 3+ years ago. And in the caption was essentially a message from my current self to that version of me 3+ years ago that essentially demonstrates or validates the phrase, people overestimate what can be accomplished in 1 year and underestimate what can get done in 3 years. I've learned that phrase is 100% true. I've learned that phrase is 100% true. Team, all of this is going to be on my email tomorrow with the recording and a product review. It's going to have, the podcast link, etc. If you're not getting that email, I highly recommend it. You can go onto my Instagram at Ask Jim Miller and download. There's a profile link where you can just get registered for the email where you get this weekly content. But this is an important call, team. If you have not committed to the 12-week year, this periodization process, it's time. And it's a great one to follow up these other 3 that I talked about, where we discussed the mind, elimination, and vision. Now we're getting into action. Okay. So team, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And we'll do it again next week. Thank you, team. Bye.